Hey, hi, it's us. Welcome to another late night edition. And this is an exciting night because oh, you know what? I forgot to turn on the microphone. There was one thing I forgot to do. Here it is. I might just hold it tonight. Um, but or it's here. She wanted to join in. How do I get the little microphone thing off? There it is. Um, and we are here live at 3:07, 3:05. Take you to the house. Yeah. Um, we got our chops here. Um, she's powered by milk. I'm powered by chocolate milk. It's all good. I'm trying to find the date that I started. It doesn't really matter. Historically, though, I love a good before and after or just the duration. Anyway, all that to say, I'm a deeply spiritual person. I've chosen like light and spirituality and seeking um, the truth and the way since a young age. I think I came to know like the darkness through some childhood trauma at a very early age, and a feeling of unsettledness and not feeling safe from very young. A lot of anxiety that lived in my body. Um, all that to say, I asked to be baptized at age 6, and kind of the adults around me were like, "Do you know what that means?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I do know what it means." And I remember vividly wanting to be baptized and practicing in the lake by my house with the pastor that lived, like our pastor that lived like a block from us, getting wearing my bathing suit under my dress at church. All that to say, like I remember choosing and wanting to do that, pouring myself into like the the stories of the Bible, and learning as much as I could through school. And then though in high school, college and beyond, really feeling this sense of groundedness in who I was. Thank you. Um, as a chosen daughter of a king, as a Christian, but really feeling like disillusioned with not necessarily the church from a bad experience, but more so from knowing and feeling grounded in the fact that the world, that like my testimony as a person, and Jesus's testimony as a person who were meant to like, that's who I want to be a disciple of and live the life like is not in within the walls of a church or the clubs that we've created or the comfort or the security that we feel like we've created. It's not there. It's out in the world, out in the wilderness, in the safari of the world, and the way that we worship and the way that we come to spirituality looks beautifully and vastly different from person to person, from culture to culture. And I am fascinated with the religions of the world. I love and feel commonality with Hinduism when we've traveled to Bali and we went to temple ceremonies and the way they celebrate everything, and with Buddhism and with um and I think the monotheistic alignment within Judaism and Islam and Christianity is so um worth exploring further. And I all that to say, like I find myself, rather than being religious, like to be deeply spiritual. And so in this segment of my life, I am a scientist and I am a physician, and I've thrived in modern medicine and Western medicine and in places and spaces where religion is not widely, I don't even say accepted or rejected. It's a place of facts and of like concrete evidence and not one of theoretical. Um, and I've always walked that line. But I know as part of my creative process and part of the blessing of who I am and of all the gifts I've been given and the ways that I'm meant to shine out and elevate humanity and to serve people is to be the most I mean, we're all judgmental. So I'm going to own that I'm judgmental because that's like a core part of being a human. But to be somebody that shows up and listens and learns and is humbled every single day and learns by the people around her and wants to get to know other people and wants to connect and wants to offer love. And that's my mission here, like with moms and with other humans, to be constantly humbled and to know that Um, that's the stuff of it all. Until the spiritual gem for me is reading the Bible, and that's what I'm getting at. That I just completed. I don't remember when I started, but I would read one chapter in the Old Testament a day and one chapter in the New Testament. Because the Old Testament is super long, I've been through the New Testament 3 times, and I just completed today Numbers. I skipped around, didn't do it like in exact order, just in the way it felt inspired. And I read the Archaeological Bible, Study Bible, which fascinated me because it had maps and context of what was going on historically during that time, and just the topography and the sociology of the region, and just artifacts and places, pictures of things that are on display in different, museums and cultural preservative sites around the world, mostly in the Middle East. And I loved it so much. I felt very nourished by it, challenged by it, and believe for the first time that like the Bible is a living, breathing word of God. It's not a textbook. I've read my share of textbooks and journals, and I don't read it for historical accuracy or to hang on to every word, but I read it as um, a living, breathing testimony of of God, that He inspired people to write. He, she, God, all being, and that I can derive from their inspiration, and um, that you know God is the same God from the Bible as today, as He is today, and that is so powerful, and that is so amazing. And this book that has withstood the centuries is for us. And so, anyway, I just completed my journey through. Um, and the very last chapter was in Numbers, and it was about inheritance of daughters. Um, and like if their father was to not have an heir. Anyway, I feel very transformed from this. And I mean, did I read a chapter every day? Like, no, there were many days and months where I would go on a little hiatus from this. But um, part of my spiritual gem is um, yeah, I'm reading every day and journaling in this book of um that I have, that's one line a day. One of my close friends gave me when I was pregnant with Camden. The gratitude journal. I'm on the 5th year now, and I'm also, disclosure, playing catch up in this, like months and months of catch up. So right now I write today's entry for whatever day it is, and then I also go back and backdate like 3 days, and have to look in my pictures sometimes to prompt me like what we did that day. But spirituality is so intensely personal to me and for me. Mm, I've struggled in Bible studies before because I felt like it was like in the same way that I struggled in high school, where um, in English literature or something, where we read The Great Gatsby. And I just remember analyzing The Great Gatsby, and what felt like every single color choice of every single outfit that people wore in the Roaring Twenties. Um, and I felt like sometimes I was like, you know what, I'm good with the subjectivity of this, of whatever the author meant that day, whatever they wrote. Like I don't need to dissect it to this degree. Like I want to read something else. I just felt like a growing restlessness of like wanting to read something else. And I felt like that about Bible studies sometimes too, like um the degree of like dissection of it. It can be fascinating to like understand the Hebrew interpretations or other things, and I'm not discounting it, but for me, it just felt like kind of micromanagey. Sometimes like, oh, when I guess I'm good in the gray, like I'm good with something is like being left to interpretation, and it could mean one thing for one person and one thing for another person. Um, and so in that way, I just feel like I'm kind of a wildling, and kind of a like coloring outside the lines Christian. And so um it has been fun for, like, for my children. They love going to children's church, and We have a super fun vibe church here in Maui that we go to. Um, and we go to on Friday nights, for example, with like a taco truck that's there that we love the people. Um, and I've done the hula halau, which has been a really cool cultural immersion at our church, part of my honor and responsibility. I believe living here in Hawaii and doing those kinds of things. So being able to use hula and utilize hula and worship through the movement of hula was really profound. And for me, worship through music has really always touched the core of who I am. So yeah, I think just spirituality, I'm still exploring that, but it for me is connecting. It's connecting with people around the world. It's connecting people down the street. It's for me living a life that I feel is worthy of who I'm called to be, which is a light to anyone and everyone. Not evangelistic in the way that I speak and posture myself, meaning, and again, I'm not discounting this. It's just not the way that feels reverent for me and aligned for me to show up in the world to be like, hey, like I'm not knocking on the door with my Bible, but if a question, if that question or if that conversation comes up, then of course, like I'm happy and willing to dive into it with people, but just feel that I'm here to love, I'm here to accept, I'm here to validate people and to help understand them. And I want to understand what makes people tick, and I want to understand what's important to them spiritually. Because I think it's the core of who we are. We all worship something, we all pledge allegiance and trust and reverence to something. Most often in our creative world, we find ways um, to invest ourselves, our time, our energy, our, you know, our allegiance. And um, nothing is more important than what we allow our hearts and minds and souls to be connected to. And so I find that deeply fascinating and a deep utmost importance to speak to people about. Like, I don't want to know what people do for their work. I want to know what drives them and what they're loving and what, like, more about them. What is their why? What is their purpose? What is their passion? What they want their life to look like? What is the discrepancy between what they want their life to look like and what it is now? What were they exposed to spiritually growing up? What have they chosen to expose themselves to spiritually in their current life landscape? And all of it. So I believe we all are spiritual. And for me, my spirituality is unfolding and evolving and fascinating. It has always been grounded in the Christian faith based on what I grew up around, but it deviated vastly from that as well, like, and from organized Christian religion to a place and space of feeling God in nature. And I still feel that way. Like, got married outside, and I like to feeling God in the created world, and being inspired by everything around me and allowing everything to point me vertically and remind me that although as a human being I will and am tempted and will continue to, kind of, I don't want to say slip up, but I guess that's a good word, to fall short and sort of choose to align with things in the horizontal world that can never fulfill me and can never inspire me, and align me in the way that's I'm meant to be aligned. Uh, because everything in the created world is meant to point me vertically and to induce that vertical awe that can only be satisfied in my quest, as a human being, to make sense of this world and the pain and traumas that we endure through vertical alignment with being chosen and being able and sustained and loved with a relentless type of love, a relentless, unremitting, grace soaked, divinely drenched chosenness. And I feel it in the delivery room every single time. I have been privileged to bring 3 miracles of aloha in, which right now nails are digging into the side. Um, I feel it when I tap into my creative potential through the creator that created me. And I've allowed it to spill off the pages of the Bible, and not just a two-dimensional way, but like energetically transcending way. And so this journey through has concluded for me. And yeah, I'm going to continue to read the Bible, the story. It's the greatest love story ever written. It's a story of love coming in the form of a person and pursuing us, coming down from riches and splendor and glory and everything to a broken world to become a human being who suffered and experienced dusty roads and rejection and humiliation and betrayal and pain and death. And it's all of it marched forward through the whole Old Testament to the New Testament and then beyond. Um, it's the most beautiful, wonderful, riveting story. And I'm so glad that I feel like I'm seeing it with a new eyes and not maybe the way that I grew up and that we oftentimes can have as Christians and as people, we just get really used to things, right? So they lose their luster, it loses its appeal, it loses its like newness and edge. And I hope and pray that it's never lost on me how profound and how utterly magnificent it is that we were chosen and that we get to live a life every single day worthy of our Savior, our Creator, and that we get to be spiritual people and we get to learn from each other what drives one another in this world. There's so much beauty in our spirituality and so much healing to be had there, so much transformation and inspiration and healing to occur. So those are my thoughts on spirituality and my personal alignment and compass. Yeah. So we did it. I feel like showing my Bible here if I can accomplish this turn. And wasn't planning on having my beautiful baby girl here, but why not? This is Bible. I actually got it for JD um, and dedicated it to him, but then I have read it. But I got it for him in for Christmas in 2007. So, and I actually got this book for my mom too because she's like the sociologist in her, and I'm not sure if either of them have delved into it, but it is exquisite and I loved it and I'm grateful for it. And I am loved because I'm loved first. And the only way, everything that I have, every good, pure thing that I think I have, which I truly have nothing, like everything is borrowed, everything is fleeting. I owe it all to the breath I take, which I can get into breath more and more and more, but it's all a divine gift every day. Getting to be here right now at 3:25 in the morning. So aloha.